In the annals of criminal history, some stories send shivers down the spine. They are stories that challenge our perceptions of evil and defy comprehension. Among these stories lies the mystery of Baba Anuika, an elderly figure whose name became similar to terror, whose actions dropped entire communities into fear, and whose story continues to baffle even the most seasoned criminologists. But who was Baba Anuika, and what exactly drove this mysterious figure to commit such horrible acts? Join us as we unravel the secret of Baba Anuika, an elderly serial killer who killed 150 people. The early life and tragic transformation of Baba Anuika. In the libraries of criminal history, there exists an interesting and chilling story of a woman named Baba Anuika, whose story is as interesting as it is horrifying. Born in 1838 in the Bat region of Romania, she emerged from a moment where belief and reality united, creating a captivating backdrop for her life of darkness and secret. Her early life seems without the signs that would later mark her as one of Serbia's most popular serial killers. She was born in 1836 in Romania. Unlike many other murderers whose childhoods are afflicted by hardship, abuse, or poverty, she grew up in relative wealth. Her father, a wealthy cattle breeder, ensured she lacked for nothing. When she and her family relocated to Vladimirovac, a village in Serbia, she received an education, a rare benefit for girls of her time, especially those from wealthy backgrounds. At the private school, she attended alongside other children of wealth. She was just another girl from a well-off family, showing no unusual traits or hints of the dark path that lay ahead. Underneath the act of what seemed like an ordinary life, there lay the seeds of something truly remarkable. Her passion for science began to show at a tender age, hinting at a deep interest within her. Alongside this, her ability to effortlessly speak 5 languages showcased her universal intelligence. It was clear that she possessed a sharp and adaptable mind, one that could have made crucial contributions to society under different situations. However, fate had a different path in store for her. Instead of rising to great heights, she found herself confused in a web of betrayal and sadness. The pivotal moment came in her early 20s, not as a singular dramatic event, but as a series of personal disasters that reshaped her entire outlook on life. The first blow was a doomed romance with a young Austrian military officer steeped in the idealism of youth. This love affair ended suddenly, leaving her heartbroken and abandoned. Yet it wasn't the loss of love itself that acted as the trigger for her transformation. It was the aftermath, a diagnosis of a serious illness contracted by her former lover, that marked the beginning of her descent into darkness. From a woman betrayed by love, she transformed into something far more threatening, a harbinger of death. The illness, which couldn't be cured and carried a heavy social stigma, likely played a crucial part in shaping her growing bitterness toward people, especially men. This bitterness seemed to grow stronger with each passing year, lurking in the shadows of her being. Instead of giving in to hopelessness, she poured her energy into the world of chemistry and science, fields where she had always shown talent since her youth. Her sharp mind, once seen as full of promise, became a tool for darker purposes. Her marriage to a man much older than her, who owned a farm, and the subsequent birth of their children could have been a chance for normalcy, a return to the innocence of her early years. But fate had different plans. The death of all but one of her children in infancy, followed by the loss of her husband after 2 decades together, plunged her into a despair from which she couldn't escape. Loneliness became her constant companion, and in its embrace, she found solace in her studies. She withdrew deeper into her intellect, distancing herself further from the outside world. Anuika's poisonous potions. Anuika transformed a section of her home into a laboratory following her husband's passing during the late 1880s. She became renowned as a healer and herbalist in her community. Many farming wives sought her assistance for various health issues, and her reputation grew steadily. With her skills, she managed to secure a comfortable livelihood. However, her endeavors extended beyond traditional medicine. Crafting potions and concoctions became her specialty. Some mixtures were designed to induce illness in soldiers, granting them an escape from military service. Others, labeled as magic water or love potions, held a more sinister purpose, Married women, in particular, were drawn to these concoctions. They would administer the potion to their husbands, unaware of its lethal nature. Anuika's love potion contained subtle doses of arsenic and other plant toxins, carefully masked to evade detection. Intriguingly, she possessed a macabre method of assessing her clients' needs. When confronted with marital troubles, she would inquire, "How heavy is that problem?" This seemingly innocent question concealed her true intention: to ascertain the body mass of the intended victim, enabling her to calculate the lethal dose accurately. Anuika's victims, typically young and healthy men, fell prey to her deadly potions. Despite the mounting death toll, her clients professed ignorance at her trial, attributing their actions to a belief in her supernatural abilities rather than knowledge of her poisons. In total, her potions claimed the lives of an estimated 50 to 150 individuals, marking a chilling chapter in the annals of history. She wasn't alone in promoting her concoction. She had a helper named Lyubina Milankov, who scouted for potential customers and brought them to Anuika's place. The price of this mysterious elixir wasn't set in stone. It varied between 2,000 and 10,000 Yugoslav dinars, depending on the buyer's persuasion skills, perhaps. One of her early customers was Stana Momirov. Stana had already been acquainted with Anuika, as she had sought herbal remedies from her before. In January 1924, Stana purchased Anuika's magic water for 2,300 dinars. She thought it might help her husband, Lazar Ludowski, who was feeling under the weather. Tragically, Lazar's condition worsened, and he passed away shortly after consuming the potion. Stana, undeterred by her unfortunate experience, decided to try her luck in matrimony once more. However, her second husband's uncle met a similarly untimely demise not long after. Suspicion fell upon Stana, leading to an investigation by the authorities. During the investigation, Stana pointed fingers at Anuika, suggesting that her magic water might not be so magical after all. Her reputation took a hit, but it didn't stop her from continuing her trade. In December 1926, she found new customers in Sima Momirov and his wife Sofija. They had a rather sinister plan in mind. They wanted to use Anuika's potion to rid themselves of Sima's father, Nikola Momirov, who they claimed was a tyrant and a drunkard. Sofija had heard of Anuika's wonders through a woman named Danica Stojic, and she wasted no time in reaching out to her. After some negotiation, she sold them her magic water for 5,000 dinars. Sofija then entrusted the potion to Olga Sturza, Nikola's granddaughter, with clear instructions to ensure Nikola consumed it. Nikola fell ill after drinking the potion and passed away after 15 days of suffering. Thus, the saga of her magic water took a darker turn, revealing the lengths some would go to for their ends. Unraveling the Bat Witch's dark deeds. Baba Anuika, the aged serial killer whose very name instilled fear throughout the Banat region, left behind a haunting legacy that still lingers. Her crimes, marked by their precise and cruel nature, offer a chilling glimpse into the mind of one of Serbia's most mysterious figures. The intricate profiles of her victims unravel the motivations driving her selections and explore the profound societal impact of her atrocious deeds. Her victims spanned a wide spectrum, yet there was a discernible pattern to her madness. Primarily targeting men, she sought those who, in her eyes, symbolized societal injustices and personal betrayals she had suffered. These men came from diverse backgrounds, ranging from young soldiers evading conscription to older husbands whose wives sought to be rid of. Her choice of victims was not random. It was a twisted form of retribution, a means for her to assert control and punish those she believed deserving of her wrath. Her motivations were multifaceted, stemming from a deep-seated animosity towards men and a fervent desire to empower women in a patriarchal society. This complex blend of resentment and empowerment fueled her relentless pursuit of vengeance, painting a portrait of a woman driven by a tumultuous mix of emotions and experiences. However, her actions were not motivated by any noble cause. Instead, they were driven by her personal grudges and inner wounds. She didn't resort to brute force or overt violence. Instead, she chose a more subtle approach, using poison as her weapon of choice. This allowed her to maintain an innocent facade while she carried out her sinister deeds in the shadows. Anuika was particularly cunning in her methods. She would often disguise herself as a healer, exploiting her knowledge of medicine and chemistry to concoct deadly poisons. Under the guise of offering remedies or potions, she would administer these toxins to her unsuspecting victims, preying on their trust and desperation. This betrayal of trust became a trademark of her modus operandi, making her crimes even more appalling. The impact of Baba Ana's crimes rippled through the region, already steeped in superstition and folklore. Her actions only served to heighten the existing fear and mistrust within the community. Rumors of a witch capable of brewing potions to both heal and harm spread like wildfire, blurring the lines between myth and reality. Her reputation as the Banat Witch became firmly established, a moniker that invoked both dread and fascination. The revelation of her crimes unleashed a wave of paranoia and hysteria, with people becoming suspicious of one another's intentions. Trust in traditional medicine and local healers crumbled as the populace grappled with the unsettling realization that someone among them had wielded their knowledge for malicious purposes. Furthermore, her actions sparked broader discussions about the role of women in society, challenging stereotypes that portrayed them solely as passive and nurturing figures. Her story served as a stark reminder of the complexities and capabilities of individuals, regardless of gender, and forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about power, trust, and betrayal. Furthermore, the crimes committed by Anu had significant repercussions, prompting authorities to reevaluate the legal and forensic procedures of the time. They were forced to enhance their methods for identifying poisons and probing suspicious deaths. This marked a pivotal shift towards a more scientific approach to solving crimes in the area. The impact on the families of the victims was profound. The slow, agonizing deaths caused by her poisons inflicted prolonged distress on these families, who could only watch helplessly as their loved ones suffered. The revelation that these deaths were intentional acts of murder compounded the trauma, shattering the family's trust. Her selection of victims and her methods unveiled a cunning and darkly intelligent mind, operating with chilling efficiency. Her ability to manipulate, deceive, and kill without raising suspicion showcased her mastery of her craft. Yet it also revealed the depths of her hatred. This malevolence left a lasting scar on the Banat region and beyond. In local folklore, Anuika is reminiscent of the mysterious and eerie figure known as Baba Anuika, or the Banat Witch. Her life and actions have transcended mere historical accounts, becoming woven into the rich hanging of Serbian folklore. She remains a haunting presence in the collective imagination, embodying the dark side of human nature and leaving an indelible mark on the cultural landscape. In the murky space between stories that seem like magic and what truly happened, figuring out what's real about Anuika becomes quite a puzzle. This chapter aims to untangle the stories spun about the Banat Witch from the cold, hard truths of her life, shining a light on both how people saw her and what she did. When we hear the name Banat Witch, it brings to mind a spooky character dabbling in dark magic, capable of all sorts of wickedness. But that's just a simplified version of her infamy, fitting neatly into the old stories about witches and their misdeeds. In reality, Anuika's witchcraft wasn't about calling upon sinister forces. It was about using her scientific knowledge to make deadly poisons. Her reputation as a witch says more about how society wanted to label her actions than what she did. People loved to imagine her as having supernatural powers, able to curse or heal with just a look. These stories, though wild and fantastical, reveal a lot about how the public tried to explain how she could get away with murder for so long. The idea of her mixing up potions to control life and death seemed as impossible as it was terrifying. So they filled in the gaps with stories of the supernatural. The way people saw Baba Anuika was shaped by the time she lived. Back then, superstition was everywhere, and not everyone understood science like we do now. So her knowledge of chemistry and plants got twisted into something more mysterious: witchcraft. The confusion grew stronger because of her role as a healer. When she used this role to commit murders, it only confirmed people's worst fears about women who didn't follow society's rules. Her life and crimes are disturbing without any supernatural elements. She didn't rely on magic. Instead, she carefully planned her killings, used her societal position to her advantage, and knew a lot about poisons. This shows she was much more dangerous because of her intelligence and cleverness, not because of any fictional witchcraft. The true horror isn't in imaginary dark arts, but in how humans can be cruel and manipulative. The fear she spread was real, tearing families apart, damaging trust in traditional healers, and changing the community forever. The nickname Banat Witch became a symbol of this fear, representing the nightmares everyone shared. Moreover, the stories about Baba Anuika reflect society's views on women, knowledge, and the unknown. Anuika challenged expectations of what women could do and how old they could be. This made her both feared and fascinating to people, showing how society grapples with powerful women who defy norms. Her story showcases the immense influence of stories in shaping how we perceive the world. It portrays her as both a lesson in what not to do and as a shadowy figure challenging society's rules. In the years after her misdeeds, it's hard to separate fact from fiction in her life story. Yet one thing remains crystal clear. She has made an unforgettable impact on our cultural awareness. The legend of Anuika has surpassed the individual, becoming a story that resonates with everyone, touching on themes of fear, authority, and the delicate boundary between brilliance and insanity. The dark secrets of magic water. In June 1914, Anuika faced her first trial in Bela Crkva. She was accused of providing poison for murders, but the court found her not guilty. However, her encounter with the law didn't end there. On 15 May 1928, at the ripe age of 90, she found herself behind bars once more. Alongside her, Stana, Sofija, Sima Momirov, Lyubina Milankov, Danica Stojic, and Olga Sturza were also arrested. They were all charged with the murders of Nikola Momirov and Lazar Ludovsky. The authorities took a serious step by exhuming the bodies of the victims for further investigation. This led to autopsies performed at the prestigious University of Belgrade. The legal proceedings began on June 1929 at the District Court in Pančevo. The hearings unfolded on 18 and 19 June, drawing significant attention. The trial pressed forward on the 1st of July with the revelation of results from chemical tests conducted on samples found in Anuika's residence. It was a pivotal moment, setting the stage for the prosecutor and defense attorneys to deliver their closing statements. The stakes were high, with the prosecutor advocating for the death penalty for most defendants, except Sturza, who was considered a minor at the time of the crime. Instead, a prison sentence was sought for her. During the trial, Sofija and Sima Momirov took to defending themselves vigorously. They argued that there was no knowledge of the poison's presence in the magic water provided by Anuika. In their view, they believed it was just ordinary water. They attributed the deaths to her purported supernatural abilities, distancing themselves from any malicious intent. Stana Momirov's desperation to cure her husband's alcoholism led her on a quest for a fabled magic water, rumored to possess miraculous healing properties. Little did she know, this pursuit would spiral into a tragic story of deceit and death. During the gripping trial, Anuika, with fire in her eyes, vehemently denied any involvement in the illicit trade of mystical remedies. She painted a picture of innocence, claiming that the accusations against her were merely the fabrications of a scorned rival, Lyubina Milankov, who sought to deflect attention from her nefarious deeds. Sturza, the young and seemingly naive defendant, pleaded her case with tears in her eyes, professing her innocence under her youth and ignorance. However, the courtroom was electrified when Sofija, with a steely gaze, contradicted her, revealing damning evidence of Sturza's complicity in the sinister plot. As the trial unfolded, the courtroom was gripped by the testimony of Dr. Branko Verdelja, an esteemed expert witness. His revelation of arsenic traces found in the victims' bodies sent shockwaves through the gallery, casting a dark shadow over the proceedings. Finally, on a fateful July day in 1929, the gavel fell, delivering justice with a heavy hand. Anuika was sentenced to 15 years behind bars, her once defiant demeanor now replaced by a somber acceptance of her fate. Stana and Sofija Momirov, the supposed orchestrators of the deadly scheme, were condemned to spend the rest of their days locked away from society. Meanwhile, Sima Momirov and Lyubina Milankov received their sentences, their roles in the tragic affair sealing their fates. And amidst the chaos of the courtroom, the innocence of Olga Sturza and Danica Stojic shone through, as they were acquitted of all charges, their names cleared in the eyes of the law. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled deep within the misty woods, there lived a seemingly ordinary elderly woman named Baba Anuika. To the unsuspecting eye, she was a gentle soul, known for her warm smile and wise demeanor. Little did the villagers know, behind her weathered facade lurked a chilling secret. Baba Anuika was a serial killer. For years, Baba Anuika had roamed the shadows, preying upon the innocent under the cloak of night. Her modus operandi was as mysterious as it was terrifying. No one suspected the elderly woman with a cane could be capable of such atrocities. But whispers began to circulate through the village as bodies turned up, each victim meeting a gruesome fate. Panic gripped the community, and suspicion fell upon everyone. No one dared to trust their neighbor, for fear they might be the next target of the elusive killer. Meanwhile, Baba Anuika continued her sinister spree, weaving through the darkness with the skill of a seasoned predator. Yet amidst the chaos, she maintained an air of calmness, her mask of innocence never slipping. And here's the shocking truth about life. Evil can reside in the most unexpected of places, even lurking behind the facade of a kindly old woman. How do you think the mystery of Baba Anuika was unraveled? Let us know. The mysterious case of Baba Anuika. In the full courtroom of the appellate court in Novi Sad, tension hung thick as both the prosecutor and the defendants anxiously awaited the judgment. The air whispered with fear as the trial unfolded on November 29 and 30, 1929. The prosecutor's demand for capital punishment sent shockwaves through the courtroom, sparking heated debates and intense attention to the evidence presented. Witnesses were called to the stand, each proof adding another piece to the interesting mystery of the case. During the fervor of cross-examinations, a bombshell revelation emerged when Sima and Sofija Momirov confessed to their previous knowledge of the poison, sending murmurs rippling through the gallery. This sudden admission shed new light on the case, forcing a reassessment of the defendants' roles and motivations. Despite this revelation, the remaining defendants maintained their innocence, steadfastly standing by their initial statements during the mounting pressure of the trial. The courtroom drama reached its climax as the judge delivered the long-awaited judgment on November 30, 1929. Anuika's revised sentence of 15 years of hard labor reflected the gravity of her involvement, while Stana and Sofija Momirov faced the bleak prospect of spending the rest of their lives behind bars. Sima Momirov's sentence escalation to life imprisonment underscored the severity of the crime, marking a significant turning point in the trial's narrative. In a surprising twist, Sturza and Stojic once again emerged unscathed, their innocence affirmed amidst the chaos of the courtroom. Their exoneration added a layer of mystery to the case, leaving lingering questions unanswered in the minds of all who witnessed the trial's gripping conclusion. Anuika, a woman of mystery and interest, found herself confined within the walls of the women's prison in Požarevac. It was there, in the spring of 1934, that a curious group of law students and journalists sought to unravel the enigma surrounding her. Visiting her in the prison hospital, they were met with a frail yet determined woman whose eyes held secrets buried deep within. 8 long years passed before Anuika's release in 1936, a release granted not out of mercy, but due to the weight of her years upon her. Despite her freedom, whispers lingered in the air, murmurs of her alleged involvement in sinister poisonings. Journalists, hungry for a story, flocked to her doorstep, eager to uncover the truth behind the accusations that stained her name. But Anuika, with the resilience of someone who had endured a lifetime of hardships, maintained her innocence till the end. Behind the veil of denial lay a story shrouded in ambiguity, leaving both investigators and storytellers alike grasping for answers. In her final years, she retreated to the quaint comforts of her home in Vladimirovac, where time seemed to stand still. Yet, even in the tranquility of her surroundings, the specter of her alleged crimes refused to dissipate. On September 1st, 1938, at the remarkable age of 100, she breathed her last, leaving behind a legacy tinged with both fascination and apprehension. The The story of Baba Anuika, once a mere footnote in history, had morphed into a legend of epic proportions, proof of the enduring allure of the human psyche and the mysteries it holds. The legacy of Baba Anuika. The story of Baba Anuika, the notorious Banat witch, reaches far beyond her crimes, leaving a lasting mark on how we understand criminals today. Her actions shook society to its core and still influence how people investigate crimes, use forensic science, and even how we depict criminals in movies and books. Baba Anuika's tale is like a dark legend that continues to haunt us, lingering over fields of study like criminal profiling. Back in her time, the idea of a woman being a serial killer was unheard of, making her case all the more shocking. Her crimes forced us to rethink our assumptions about who could be capable of such terrible deeds. What made Baba Anuika stand out even more was that she didn't fit the usual profile of a killer. She was older, a woman, and she held a respected role as a healer in her community. This challenged everything we thought we knew about criminals, pushing investigators and experts to dig deeper into the reasons behind her actions. Her story taught us an important lesson. We can't judge a book by its cover. People need to look beyond appearances and consider the complex mix of factors that can lead someone to commit crimes. This means understanding their personal history, the roles they play in society, and the psychological motivations driving their behavior. Baba Anuika's legacy isn't just one of fear and horror, but also one that reminds us to seek a deeper understanding of human nature. Her impact on legal science stands out as one of her most significant legacies. Her use of poison as a method of murder accidentally caused advancements in this field. The challenge of detecting her indirect poisoning techniques exposed the weaknesses of existing legal methods, pushing for improvements in toxicology and chemical analysis. Her actions underscored the need for scientific precision and creativity in solving crimes, sparking the development of more advanced approaches for identifying and studying harmful substances. Her case became a key moment in the history of legal science, showcasing the crucial role of scientific evidence in solving crimes and ensuring justice. It also underscored the importance of forensic expertise in legal proceedings, reshaping how evidence was presented and understood in courtrooms. Beyond the realms of law enforcement and science, her story captured the imagination of popular culture. Her transformation into the popular Banat witch has become a source of appeal, horror, and interest, inspiring countless books, films, and folklore. Her portrayal in these mediums has contributed to the mythos of the female serial killer, leaving a lasting impact on our collective imagination. In our movies, books, and TV shows, we often see stories about crime and punishment. These stories tell us a lot about how we as a society feel about right and wrong, about justice, and the dark side of human nature. Anuika's story is one of those tales that makes us stop and think. Her story isn't just about what she did. It's about the big questions it raises. Questions like, what does it mean to be good or bad? How do we decide what's fair punishment? And how do we understand evil? When we see her story in movies or hear it in folklore, it's like looking through a special lens. Through this lens, we can see how society views women, power, and people who break the rules. Sometimes Anuika is portrayed as a terrifying demon, and other times she's a legendary figure. This shows us how conflicted we are about crime and the people who commit it. Even today, her legacy is still felt. Her case has changed the way we think about solving crimes. It reminds us that we need to work together, scientists, psychologists, and police, to stay ahead of criminals. But her story isn't just about crime. It's also about women and how they've been treated throughout history. It makes us question our own biases and assumptions. It challenges us to do better, to create a justice system that's truly fair for everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.